Hi everyone, it's me again. I just wanted to make a follow-up video to my previous math home grading instruction video because I know not all parents have a student that's in the reading program, and I know a lot of parents have students that are in both the reading and the math program. So I just wanted to make a follow-up video to show you how to grade a reading packet, because reading is a little bit different than math. Although it does follow the same basic rules, it has some extra rules that we use because there's a little more content in it. So again, I'm going to ask you to have the resources that I had you have for the last video. You want to have your grading book that correlates with your child's level. You want to have your colored pen. You want to have your child's packet, and you want to be in a quiet and calm environment. So we're just going to get right to it. I'm going to share my screen with you. And first I'm going to show you the front of a packet. So if you have a student in the reading program, you've probably seen that a lot of their packets start off with a reading page. And the reading page doesn't have anything for you to correct on it, but we always just draw a big circle on the front to mark that it's finished. So I'm gonna grade this for you. So again, we start off by just summarizing the time if it's not already done. Start off here. And like I said, we're just gonna draw a big circle on the front to show that it was marked. And the back usually also has a reading page. So it's just an automatic 100, and we're still gonna put it in the summary because when it's being inputted into the computer here, it makes it easier for whoever's inputting it, because that way they're not skipping an entry accidentally. We just always want to mark all the pages that are in the packet. So I just wanted to show you that really quickly. So I'm going to get up a new page and I'm going to show you how to grade. So I'm going to pull up this page. So this is another standard reading page for you, and it has some fill-ins. You'll see a lot of the packets just have standard fill-ins, so the student will read the text and they'll fill in the blanks. So we look into the book, and again we turn to the page that correlates with the packet number. So A278A. So I'm going to turn 78A. And I see that the first answer is correct. The book actually has mother and father, but we use our own discretion and say mom and dad is fine. They understand what the story is trying to say. So that one's correct. The second one, the book says the answer should be swimming. And if we go back into the story, we could say, yes, it's supposed to be swimming. And this student wrote playing. So that's completely wrong. So if an answer is completely wrong, we do exactly like we do in math, and we write a check on it. So I have the packet here with me. I can tell you the back of this page is correct. So we go again up to the grading scale, and we try to see, we have one check mark, and we go and see that one check mark is a 69%. And the reason that it's so low, the score is so low, because it correlates with the amount of questions on this page. So it's the ratio of the amount of questions and how many they get wrong, and that's what results in the low score. So as we know from the math video, we would go back to the front, whatever page this is on, that's what we would summarize. So that's just a standard. If it's completely incorrect, we draw a check. So I'm going to pull up another page for you, and we're going to do this. All right, so this is a true or false page. There's a lot of these pages in the reading packets. And you're going to be inclined to just draw a check mark right next to the one that is wrong, but we actually don't do that in the center. We put the check marks above the question. The reason we're doing this is if we write the check mark directly next to the question that is wrong, they really have a 50-50 chance of getting it correct. So instead of going back into the story and reading why they got it wrong and really trying to fix their mistake, they will be more inclined to just erase the incorrect answer and write the other answer. So they have two options for true and false, and that's not really teaching them anything. So we like to make them go back and read and try to figure out which one was really incorrect. So for that reason, we put the check marks up top. So if we go through the book, we say this is page 72A. I'm going a little out of order with this packet. We see that it's supposed to be true, false, false. So we know that one of them is wrong, so we're going to draw just one check mark up top. If there were two wrong, we would draw two check marks. So again, I have the packet with me. The next page is completely correct. So we go up and we say one wrong is an 80 for this page. And again, we would summarize it on the front. So that's how we do true or false. I'm going to do another share with you. And this time I'm going to show you this page. Okay, so this page is again another fill-in, but it's actually in the student's own opinion. So they're pretty much finishing a sentence in their own words. So in the story, David enjoys playing with water. What do you enjoy playing with? Answer in your own words. I enjoy playing with my friends. And that's a fine answer. It's not completely wrong at all. It makes sense, and it's in their own words. So we're not marking it completely wrong. But if you look, you can see that the word friends is spelt incorrectly. For this, we don't put a check mark because it's not completely incorrect, and we don't want to discourage the student. So we have a symbol known as a partial. And what a partial is, it's just a small triangle that we'll put. Partials are used for errors in grammar, a spelling error, punctuation, anything of that sort that is not completely wrong, all right? And partials are only worth 5%. They're not worth a complete wrong. And if there were more than one partial in this answer, say they left out my and just with friends, you would put 2 in here. And with partials, we only count it once per question because especially in the higher levels, the students will have more than one partial and we don't want to just deduct points. Again, it all goes back to not discouraging the student. We're not here to make them frustrated. We're here to correct their work and ensure that they're getting the proper help. So that's what we call a partial. And when we go back to a grading scale, I'll show you, I'll bring up a previous page that has a grading scale. If we go back to the grading scale, you see up here, it only shows you what you put when they have completely one wrong. So with partials, like I previously said, they're only worth 5%. So if we go from 100 and say that the student has one partial, we go down to a 95, which is in this 9 range. So with the page that we just graded, it would be considered a 9. Let's say that the student had 2 partials, so they had triangles on more than one answer. So that goes down to a 90. It's still in that 9 range, so we keep it as a 9. Now let's say they have 3 partials, that goes down to an 85. So it's no longer in this 9 range, it goes down to an 8 range. So that's where we would put that marking. And again, we would summarize this on the front page. With packets with both incorrect answers and partials, we always count the checks first. So if the grading scale said that one completely wrong answer right here was a 9, we would say, okay, we're at a 9, but let's say they had a partial as well as the check mark, it would go down to an 85, okay? So for my final example, I'm gonna pull up a spelling page, and I'm sure a lot of you parents have seen this type of page. They're pretty common. For the spelling page, the answer is only completely incorrect if you could discern that the student really didn't know what the answer was. So if you go down the list, you say logs, hand, sure, those are all fine, but this answer number 4, we got was, it should be wet. They did not know what the answer was, so it would be completely wrong. So this next question, it says, I like making bubbles. It should be bubbles, but they accidentally put an O instead of a U. So we would say, hey, they didn't completely not know what the answer was. They just spelt it wrong. So instead of a check mark, we'll put a partial. So again, this goes back to what I said previously when we're doing the grading scale. If there's one wrong, we count the completely incorrect one first, and then we count the partial. So when we're all finished grading our packet, we go back to the front, and it should be written here already because we technically already graded this. This should be summarized here. All right, and we should have markings all along the top to show the student that we graded this entire packet. 7, 9, 10. So this was a packet with 10 pages. We should have 10 different symbols up top. And that's what it should look like when we're all finished. And that pretty much covers, for a lower level of reading, all the symbols we use and when we use them. And of course, there's going to be some situations where different things apply, but mostly that happens in higher level reading. And when you're home grading, it's better to just, you could try higher level reading, of course, but it's okay if you don't want to because there's a whole bunch of different situations in higher level reading. So that's about it. And thanks for listening.